some more globals. Unfortunately, I'm going to create some more globals, but these are good ones. In addition to the global variables provided by SSK, there are also some functions that I provide. Now, I was talking about the ability to create custom events. So I do it all the time in my code. So what I do is I create an event, I create a listener for it, and then I throw the event or post the event. Now the proper functions for these, I'll show you the longhand way first. I could make type function. You should have done this ahead of time, sorry. Now, I could call this function here anything, but I happen to be calling it onBob. So what I've done here is I've created a function called onBob. And then I've said runtime add event listener. I said listen for this event, and when this event occurs, execute this function. Then later I could do this. Go runtime dispatch, create a table in here, name the event onBob, and then I could pass some parameters along. I could say age equals 25. So when this bit of code executes, hopefully if I did this right, let me bring it up.
You missed an equal sign for name.
Yep, this is what I do. Thank you. All right. I have too much stuff going on here. All right, there it is. I ran this code. It set it up, set up the listener, and when this bit of code ran, it printed out 25. And I can make this a little more clear. I could say Bob's age is. Bring the log over, rerun it. Bob's age is 25. Let me explain what we're seeing here. What Corona does is allows us to create custom events using the runtime event listener system. And then subsequently, anywhere in our code, we can dispatch that event, which means to produce the event, provide it some data, and all of the event listeners that are out there listening for that event will catch it and do something with it. So what you've got is this beautiful way of creating a listener in one piece of code and then sending it a message from some other piece of code. So you remember how I said you get into this conundrum where you've got modules that need to talk to each other, but maybe one module needs to know about the other module. So you got A and B, and they both need to be able to talk to each other. How do you achieve it? You can't include the modules within each other because Lua doesn't allow module A to include module B if module B then includes module A via the require statement. What you get is in this infinite loop. It doesn't know what to do with it. So what you do is instead you set up event listeners. Now, I use these things all the time, and as I said, I'm a lazy programmer, so I really don't like typing runtime. I always forget if it's capital R or lowercase r. I don't know what the problem is with my remembering these things. Runtime, add event listener, yada, 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 and then you have to make this table. It's just like, it seems like too much work to me. So what I do instead is I've produced 3 functions. Listen, ignore, post. Listen is the equivalent of add event listener, and it's got the same usage onBob. So that's straightforward. Post is the same as dispatch, but it's got a different signature. Post, name of the event, which seems much more straightforward to me. And then if I want to optionally pass arguments along, I can pass this bit as my second part of the function call, pass it a table, internally, my code over here will take these two and combine them and produce this. So it's just shorthand lazy person notation. So if we do this, and I run it again, Bob's age is 25. Same result, shorter code.
I like to do the same thing in Linux/Unix environments. I like to create shortcuts for very terse commands, where you're just like, I got to do all this stuff, and I got to do it repetitively, and I only want to be able to remember one short command to do it.
Exactly. I'm a lazy typist, so I like nice short command names, or as you noticed, nice short variable names. W for width, H for height, full W for full width, etc., etc. I know that Sergey may be watching this someday, and he'll go, Ed, I can't believe that you did not make those so that people will know what those mean. You should have said width. Sorry, buddy. Mr. Lazy over here. Okay.
Well, and we run into this problem all the time as developers and programmers. Once you've got 4 or 5 programming languages under your belt, they start colliding. And so having these tools in place that are similar between languages that we always use these methodologies just makes life a lot easier.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Right. The listen, ignore, post. Your dog agrees. The listen, ignore, post. I don't remember what language they came from, but I used these somewhere else, and so now this is how I think of them. I don't think of it as dispatching an event. I think of it as posting an event. So, therefore, post.